Friedrich Nietzsche, a name synonymous with controversy, continues to ignite debate more than a century after his death. Nietzsche's ideas have often been met with resistance, particularly his critique of traditional morality. To truly grasp Nietzsche's philosophy, one must delve into his written works, each offering a unique perspective on his evolving thought. Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche was born on October 15, 1844, in the small Prussian village of Röcken. At the age of 14, Nietzsche's academic prowess earned him a coveted place at the renowned Pforta, a prestigious boarding school in Germany known for its rigorous classical education. Nietzsche's passion for philology deepened at the University of Leipzig, where he transferred after a year at Bonn. The works of Arthur Schopenhauer, particularly his magnum opus, The World as Will and Representation, had a profound impact on the young Nietzsche. Published in 1872, The Birth of Tragedy marked Nietzsche's debut as a major philosophical voice, though its reception was mixed. In 1878, Nietzsche published Human, All Too Human, a book for free spirits, marking a significant shift in his thinking. Nietzsche's most literary and arguably most famous work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, was published in 4 parts between 1883 and 1885. In Beyond Good and Evil, published in 1886, Nietzsche launched a direct attack on traditional morality, dissecting its origins and questioning its validity. Central to Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of the will to power, a term often misunderstood and misrepresented. Closely tied to the will to power is Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, often translated as Superman or Overman. This figure, often misunderstood as a blueprint for a future elite or a justification for authoritarianism, represents Nietzsche's vision of human potential. The Übermensch is not a separate species or a superior being, but rather an ideal towards which humanity can strive, a symbol of self-overcoming and the creation of new values. According to Nietzsche, the Übermensch transcends the limitations of conventional morality, which he saw as a product of weakness and resentment. The Übermensch creates their own values, embracing life with a spirit of affirmation, creativity, and a love of fate, even in the face of suffering and adversity. They are not bound by the rules and conventions of the herd, but rather chart their own course, guided by their own internal compass. Nietzsche's Übermensch has been interpreted in various ways. often sparking controversy and debate. Some have seen it as a dangerous ideal, promoting elitism and a disregard for morality. Others, however, view it as a call for radical self-responsibility, a challenge to break free from the shackles of conformity and embrace the fullness of our human potential. Nietzsche himself acknowledged the difficulty of achieving such a state of being, recognizing that the path to becoming an Übermensch is fraught with challenges and requires a profound transformation of values and perspectives. One of Nietzsche's most challenging and enigmatic ideas is the concept of eternal recurrence, the idea that all events in the universe, including our own lives, will repeat themselves infinitely in exactly the same way. This concept, explored most fully in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, is not presented as a scientific theory or a metaphysical doctrine, but rather as a thought experiment, a way of testing the limits of our values and our capacity for joy. Nietzsche asks us to imagine a demon whispering in our ear that we must relive every moment of our lives, every joy and sorrow, every triumph and defeat, for all eternity. How would we react to such a prospect? Would we be filled with despair or with a sense of affirmation? Nietzsche believed that our response to this thought experiment reveals the depth of our commitment to life and our capacity for self-overcoming. The idea of eternal recurrence is not meant to be taken literally. Rather, it serves as a powerful metaphor for embracing the totality of our experience, the good and the bad, the joyful and the painful. It challenges us to live in such a way that we would be willing to relive every moment, even the most difficult ones, without regret or resentment. It is a call to live life with a sense of urgency, passion, and a profound acceptance of the cyclical nature of existence. Nietzsche's critique of morality centers on master and slave morality. Master morality values strength, courage, and self-assertion. Slave morality values humility, compassion, and self-sacrifice. Nietzsche challenges us to examine our values and motivations. Are they from strength or weakness? One of Nietzsche's most famous and controversial pronouncements is the statement, "God is dead." This phrase, often taken out of context, does not express a simplistic atheism or a celebration of secularism. Rather, it points to a profound shift in Western consciousness, the decline of traditional religious belief and the values associated with it. Nietzsche believed that the Enlightenment, with its emphasis on reason and scientific inquiry, had fatally undermined the foundations of religious faith, leaving a void in its wake. For Nietzsche, the death of God does not signal a triumph of reason over superstition, but rather a crisis of meaning. If God is dead, then all values and beliefs that rested on the foundation of divine authority are called into question. This realization, according to Nietzsche, can lead to nihilism, the belief that life is meaningless and purposeless. However, he also saw in this crisis an opportunity for a radical revaluation of values, a chance for humanity to create new meanings and purposes in a world without God. Nietzsche's death of God is not a cause for despair, but rather a call to confront the abyss of nihilism with courage and creativity. He challenges us to embrace the freedom and responsibility that come with living in a world without absolute truths or divine guidance. It is a call to become creators of our own values, to find meaning and purpose in the face of absurdity, and to embrace the fullness of human existence, even in the absence of a cosmic guarantee. Nietzsche's work was controversially appropriated by Nazi ideology. His ideas were distorted to support the Nazi agenda. Nietzsche was critical of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and violence. His writings contradict Nazi ideology. He condemned anti-Semitism as a threat to cultural vitality. The Nazis distorted Nietzsche's ideas for political gain. His sister Elizabeth promoted this distorted image. Misappropriations are based on a fundamental misreading of his thought. Nietzsche's writings contain numerous passages that express derogatory views of women. These passages have led some to dismiss him as a sexist and misogynist. However, his views on women are more complex and nuanced. Nietzsche was writing in the late 19th century, a time of pervasive patriarchal attitudes. His writings also contain passages that express admiration and respect for women. He had close relationships with several intelligent and independent women, including Lou Andreas Salome. Some scholars argue that his misogynistic pronouncements should be understood in the context of his broader philosophical project. A nuanced understanding of Nietzsche requires acknowledging both the brilliance and the blind spots of his perspective. Interpreting Nietzsche's work presents a unique challenge due to his provocative writing style, his penchant for aphorisms and paradoxes, and his tendency to express conflicting viewpoints within the same text. This has led to a wide range of interpretations of his work. Navigating Nietzsche's discourse requires careful reading, critical thinking, and embracing ambiguity. Avoid taking his pronouncements literally without considering the context. Nietzsche often employed hyperbole, irony, and self-contradiction. Engage with his work as an ongoing dialogue, recognizing his ideas are meant to be wrestled with. Approach his work with a critical yet sympathetic eye, recognizing both the brilliance and limitations of his perspective. The rise of existentialism, Nietzsche's echoes in a meaningless world. The tremors of Nietzsche's thought reverberated powerfully throughout the 20th century, leaving an undeniable imprint on the development of existentialism. Thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Simone de Beauvoir, grappling with a world shattered by war and disillusionment, found resonance with Nietzsche's proclamation of the death of God and his emphasis on individual freedom and responsibility in a seemingly meaningless universe. Existentialism, like Nietzsche's philosophy, rejected the comforting illusions of traditional morality and religious dogma, focusing instead on the human condition as it is, finite, absurd, and burdened with the heavy weight of freedom. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the individual who creates their own values and defines their own meaning in a godless world, found echoes in existentialism's emphasis on authenticity, the courage to live in accordance with one's own freely chosen values. Sartre, in particular, drew heavily on Nietzsche's ideas of radical freedom and the anguish of choice, famously declaring that man is condemned to be free. Like Nietzsche, the existentialists believe that we are thrown into existence without a predetermined essence or purpose, and that it is up to us to create meaning through our actions and choices. This emphasis on individual responsibility and the burden of freedom resonated deeply in a post-war world struggling to make sense of its own fragility and the horrors it had witnessed. Psychology's New Depths, Unmasking the Self with Nietzsche. Nietzsche's influence extended beyond the realm of philosophy, reaching into the burgeoning field of psychology, particularly through the work of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. While both Freud and Jung had significant disagreements with aspects of Nietzsche's thought, they recognized in his work a profound understanding of the human psyche, particularly its darker, irrational depths. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power, for example, resonated with Freud's own ideas about the ID, the unconscious drives and desires that shape human behavior. Both thinkers challenged the Enlightenment view of the rational, autonomous individual, revealing the powerful forces at play beneath the surface of consciousness. Jung, too, found inspiration in Nietzsche's work, particularly his exploration of archetypes, myths, and the shadow self, concepts that would become central to Jung's own theories of the unconscious. Nietzsche's influence on psychology can also be seen in his emphasis on the importance of self-examination and the process of becoming. His concept of the Übermensch, while often misinterpreted as a call to dominance or elitism, can also be understood as a model for psychological growth and self-realization. Nietzsche's ideas encourage psychologists to look beyond the surface of behavior and explore the hidden depths of the human psyche, paving the way for new approaches to understanding the self and its complexities. Questioning Morality's Foundation. Echoes in Ethics and Law. Nietzsche's radical critique of morality sent shockwaves through the fields of ethics and law, challenging traditional notions of right and wrong, justice and punishment. His genealogical approach to morality, tracing its origins to power struggles and social conventions, undermined the belief in universal moral truths, paving the way for a more relativist and skeptical view of ethical systems. Legal thinkers, too, grappled with Nietzsche's ideas, particularly his critique of punishment. Nietzsche questioned the traditional justifications for punishment, arguing that they were often rooted in resentment, revenge, and a desire for retribution rather than a genuine concern for justice or rehabilitation. His work encouraged a more critical examination of the criminal justice system and the motivations behind our legal codes. While Nietzsche offered no easy answers to the complex questions of ethics and law, his work served as a powerful catalyst for critical reflection and debate. He challenged legal scholars and ethicists to look beyond the surface of moral pronouncements and examine the underlying power dynamics, psychological motivations, and historical contingencies that shape our understanding of right and wrong. His influence can be seen in the rise of legal realism, a movement that challenged the formalistic view of law as a neutral and objective system, emphasizing instead the role of social context and judicial discretion in shaping legal outcomes. A Cultural Earthquake. Nietzsche's Ripples in Art and Literature. Nietzsche's influence transcended academia, reverberating through art and literature. His poetic ideas resonated with artists and writers, breaking free from tradition. His critique of morality and emphasis on individualism inspired modernist movements. Writers like Mann, Hesse, and Camus explored themes of nihilism and freedom. Painters like Munch and Klimt expressed modern life's anxieties and alienation. Composers Mahler and Strauss captured Nietzsche's Dionysian spirit in their music. Nietzsche's impact extended beyond specific movements, inspiring boundary-pushing art. A legacy of disruption. Nietzsche's enduring impact. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who declared the death of God and challenged Western morality, continues to provoke and inspire. His legacy is one of disruption, shaking our beliefs and assumptions. His ideas remain relevant, sparking debate and reflection. Nietzsche's impact spans philosophy, psychology, art, and culture. His ideas challenge us to question authority and create our own values. His writings, with their aphoristic brilliance, continue to resonate. Yet his work has been misused to justify ideologies. We must engage critically with Nietzsche's complex thought. Beyond the misinterpretations, reclaiming Nietzsche's message. To appreciate Nietzsche's contribution, we must move beyond caricatures and misinterpretations. He was not a nihilist, but a passionate advocate for life, urging us to embrace its fullness. His proclamation of the death of God recognized a crisis of meaning in a world without traditional religious moorings. Nietzsche challenged us to create our own values and find meaning without divine guarantees. His concept of the Übermensch symbolized human potential and self-overcoming. He urged us to embrace individuality, cultivate creativity, and live with affirmation. The eternal return of Nietzsche. A catalyst for thought. Nietzsche's philosophy, like eternal recurrence, returns again and again, challenging new generations of thinkers. His ideas resonate with startling immediacy in the 21st century. We grapple with the same questions Nietzsche did: the decline of traditional values, the rise of nihilism, the search for meaning in a seemingly meaningless universe, and the challenge of forging a fulfilling life without absolute truths. Nietzsche's work offers tools for critical reflection and self-discovery. He challenges us to question everything, to embrace our freedom and responsibility, and to live with creativity, passion, and a love of faith. His writings provoke us to examine our beliefs and strive for deeper understanding. In a world saturated with information, Nietzsche's voice rings out with clarity and urgency. He reminds us that the unexamined life is not worth living, and that the search for truth requires courage and honesty. The human spirit is capable of extraordinary resilience, creativity, and self-overcoming. Nietzsche's legacy reminds us of the importance of critical thinking and individual responsibility. Ideas have the enduring power to shape our world.